It was the first day of senior year, and the hallways of Crestwood High were already buzzing with laughter, gossip, and the sound of lockers slamming shut. Teenagers moved in clusters, some boasting about their summer trips, some busy showing off new outfits, and others walking nervously with their schedules in hand. Among the noise and color of the crowd, one girl walked quietly with her head down. Her name was Emily Carter. She wasn't new to the school. She had been there since freshman year, but you wouldn't know it. Emily was the type of girl who could slip in and out of a classroom without anyone noticing. She wore plain clothes, carried a stack of books tighter than anyone else, and most of all, she never took off her thick-framed glasses. Her glasses were old-fashioned, a little too big for her face, and everyone in the school seemed to think they were the perfect excuse to make fun of her. "Hey, four eyes," a boy from the football team called out as she passed. "Careful, she might shoot lasers if she takes them off." Another joked, earning laughs from his friends. Emily didn't respond. She just kept walking, shoulders hunched, gripping her books until her knuckles turned white. She had learned long ago that the more you reacted, the more fun they had. Silence was her shield, but silence also made her invisible. And being invisible was something Emily was tired of. What nobody knew, not her classmates, not her teachers, not even her closest neighbor, was that Emily wasn't quiet because she had nothing to say. She was quiet because she had a secret she had hidden her whole life. At lunch, she sat in her usual spot at the far corner of the cafeteria, away from the noise. She opened her notebook, pretending to write, but her eyes kept darting toward the group in the center of the room. It was the table where all the so-called popular kids sat, the athletes, the cheerleaders, and the kids who seemed to own every hallway they walked in. At the head of the table was Jessica Lane, the queen bee of Crestwood High. Jessica was beautiful, confident, and ruthless. With her perfect hair and sharp tongue, she made sure everyone knew their place, and Emily Carter, with her oversized glasses, was always at the very bottom. "Look who's sitting all by herself again," Jessica whispered loudly enough for her friends to hear. They giggled. Maybe her glasses scared everyone away. Emily's face burned, but she didn't look up. She pretended to read, though the words on the page blurred. Jessica wasn't done. "Hey, Emily," she called across the cafeteria. The whole room quieted slightly, waiting. "Why don't you take off those glasses for once? Or are you afraid? We'll see what you're hiding." Her friends laughed, banging on the table like it was some kind of show. Emily froze. Her heart pounded so loudly she thought everyone could hear it. She wanted to disappear, to sink into the floor. She wanted to scream too, but instead she lowered her head even further, letting her hair cover her face. Jessica smirked. She had won again, but what nobody realized in that moment was that Jessica's cruel words had planted a seed. That night, Emily sat in front of her mirror at home. The small lamp on her desk cast a soft glow across her room. She slowly reached up and touched her glasses. For years, they had been part of her identity, a shield, a mask, a prison. She took a deep breath and removed them. Her reflection stared back. Without the glasses, she looked different, almost unrecognizable. Her sharp green eyes, usually hidden, seemed to glow. Her cheekbones looked higher, her features stronger, but that wasn't the real secret. Emily leaned closer to the mirror, then closed her eyes. When she opened them again, something unbelievable happened. For just a flicker of a second, her pupils shifted, shimmering with a strange golden light. She gasped and quickly put the glasses back on. Her hands shook. "No," she whispered to herself. "Not here, not yet." The next morning, things were worse. Word had spread about the cafeteria incident. Whispers followed Emily down the hall. Every time she turned a corner, someone was waiting with a cruel joke or an exaggerated imitation of pushing glasses up their nose. By the time she got to science class, she was exhausted. She slid into her seat, praying the teacher would just start the lesson, but fate had other plans. Jessica, of course, was in the same class. She made sure to sit right behind Emily. The moment the teacher turned to write on the board, Jessica leaned forward and whispered, "You know, everyone thinks you're hiding something. What is it? Are you cross-eyed, or maybe—" She giggled. You're just ugly without them. Her friend snickered. Emily gritted her teeth. She kept her eyes on the board, but her hands trembled. Something inside her was building, a pressure she couldn't ignore forever, and then it happened. Jessica, determined to get a reaction, reached forward and snatched the glasses right off Emily's face. The classroom went silent. All eyes turned. Emily's heart stopped. Jessica dangled the glasses in her hand, smirking. Well, well. Let's see what's so scary that you hide behind these every day. Everyone leaned in, expecting to laugh, but when Emily slowly lifted her head, the room didn't laugh. They didn't even breathe. Her eyes glowed, not with tears, not with fear, but with something far beyond anything human. For a split second, golden light shimmered in her gaze. Powerful and terrifying, Jessica froze, the smirk sliding off her face. No one could understand what they were seeing, and Emily, for the first time in her life, didn't look away. The classroom felt like a battlefield the next day. Emily stepped through the doors with her books clutched tightly against her chest, trying to blend into the background. But Bullies never needed an invitation. The moment she walked in, whispers began circling. The room, there she is. The nerd with the big glasses, one boy snickered loudly, making sure everyone heard him. Careful, another chimed in. Those glasses are probably bulletproof. The class erupted in laughter. Emily's face turned hot, her eyes darting to the floor. She wanted to vanish, melt into the linoleum tiles beneath her sneakers. Her teachers always told her to ignore them, but how could she? Each word felt like a stone, thrown at her heart. At lunch, things got worse. Emily sat at the far end of the cafeteria, carefully opening her brown paper bag. A turkey sandwich, an apple, and a juice box her mother always packed them with. Love, adding little notes that said, "Have a great day, sweetheart." But before she could take a bite, a hand swooped in and snatched her sandwich. Thanks. 4 eyes, said Brianna, the queen bee of the school. With her perfect hair, expensive clothes, and army of followers, she ruled the cafeteria like a throne. She waved Emily's sandwich around like a prize. What is this? Whole wheat bread. How? Tragic, her friends cackled. One girl dumped Emily's juice on the table, letting it spill across her homework. Another pretended to squint at Emily and said, "Do those glasses help you see us laughing at you? Or are you blind to reality?" The cafeteria roared with cruel laughter. Emily's hands trembled. She wanted to scream, wanted to fight back, but something inside her told her to stay silent. For now, but there was one person who noticed everything. Liam. He was quiet too, always sitting 2 tables away, sketching in his notebook. He'd never spoken to Emily before, but today he felt something stir inside him. Anger, disgust, pity. He couldn't understand why the world could be so cruel to someone who had done nothing wrong. That night, Emily sat in her room staring at the mirror. She slid her glasses off and rubbed her tired eyes. Without them, the world was blurry, shapes melting into shadows. But in the silence of her room, she whispered to herself, "They have no idea who I really am." Because the truth was, her glasses weren't just for vision, they were hiding something. A secret even her bullies could never imagine. The next morning, things spiraled again. During math class, the teacher called Emily to the board. "Emily, could you solve this problem for us?" Her stomach dropped. She hated standing in front of everyone. She picked up the chalk with trembling fingers. "Don't trip, nerd!" Someone hissed from the back. "She won't even see the board without those glasses." Another sneered. Her vision swam. She could barely hear the teacher's encouraging words. And then suddenly her glasses slipped off her face. They clattered to the ground, bouncing against the tile floor. The room froze. Emily gasped, instantly covering her eyes with her hands. "No, no," she whispered, panic flooding her chest. But it was too late. The classroom saw what she'd been hiding, and in that moment, silence swallowed the room. Her eyes, those deep, piercing eyes, glowed faintly, something unearthly shimmering within them. Not just color, not just light, something powerful, something unexplainable. The bullies stared, mouths open, their laughter gone, and for the first time in years, Emily didn't feel small. She felt unstoppable. The next Day, the hallways buzzed with the same cruel whispers. Madison walked through with her head held high, though inside her stomach knotted. The memory of yesterday's cafeteria scene still replayed in her mind, the gasps, the sudden silence, the way even the bullies froze when they saw her eyes. After she removed those glasses, but the whispers today were different. They weren't mocking, they weren't filled with laughter. They were loaded with curiosity and fear. Did you see her eyes? Someone muttered as she walked past. They can't be real. Another said, Dude, it was like they were glowing or something. Madison heard every word. She pretended not to, clutching her books close to her chest. She wanted to vanish into the walls, but it was impossible now. She was no longer invisible. When she reached her locker, she found someone already waiting, Emily. Her smile was sharp, fake as ever. Morning, Four Eyes, Emily said, though her tone carried an edge of unease. Or should I say, no eyes. A few kids nearby laughed nervously. They didn't laugh the same way as before. It wasn't mocking anymore, it was scared laughter. Like they weren't sure which side to take. Madison slowly closed her locker door and turned to Emily. Her hands trembled, but her voice came out steady. Why are you so scared, Emily? The hallway quieted instantly. That wasn't the kind of response anyone expected from Madison. The shy girl who usually just swallowed the insults. Emily's smile faltered. Scared? Of you? Don't make me laugh. But her eyes darted sideways, betraying her. Because you saw what's under these glasses, Madison continued, her heart pounding. And you know it wasn't normal. The hallway filled with whispers again, louder this time. Emily flushed, her confident mask slipping. Maybe you should. Keep those freak eyes hidden, Emily spat finally. For everyone's safety. She pushed past Madison, but the force wasn't as strong as usual. It was shaky dot as the crowd dispersed. One boy stayed behind. Liam, the quiet kid who always sat near the back of class, sketching in his notebook. He had never joined in the bullying. Never said a word, really. You shouldn't let her get to you, he said softly. Madison blinked, surprised anyone was even talking to her. You saw too, didn't you? She asked cautiously. Liam nodded. Yeah, and I think I know what it means. Her breath caught. Nobody had said that yet. Most just whispered like it was some creepy rumor. But Liam spoke as if it was a clue, like something bigger was happening. What do you mean? She whispered back. He glanced around nervously, then lowered his voice. Not here. Meet me after school, at the old library across town. I'll explain everything. Before she could ask more, he walked away, leaving Madison with her pulse racing. All day she couldn't focus. The teachers' voices blurred into background noise. Emily and her crew still tried to stare her down, but their eyes carried doubt now. For once, they weren't sure if Madison was weaker than them or something far more dangerous. When the final bell rang, Madison hurried across town, her glasses perched back on her nose. The old library was abandoned, its windows boarded, its doors creaking with age. She hesitated before stepping inside. The air was thick with dust. Sunlight streamed through cracks in the wood, painting stripes across the ruined floor. And there, sitting on a fallen beam with his sketchbook in hand, was Liam. You came, he said simply. Of course I came. You said you knew something? Liam flipped open his sketchbook and turned it toward her. Madison's breath caught. Drawn across the pages were eyes. Her eyes, the same unusual patterns, the strange glow that shimmered when she removed her glasses. Except he had drawn them long before yesterday. You've seen them before? Madison asked in shock. Not yours, Liam said. But eyes like them. My grandfather used to tell me stories about people born with sight that wasn't normal. Sight that could see things others couldn't, hidden things. Madison felt the room tilt. What kind of things? Liam's gaze darkened. Things that most people don't want to believe are real. The silence in the library grew heavy. For the first time, Madison felt a chill crawl down her spine. What are you saying? She whispered. Liam closed the sketchbook. I'm saying, those bullies weren't mocking you yesterday, not really. They were afraid, because deep down they sensed the truth. He leaned closer, lowering his voice. You're not just different, Madison. You're dangerous. Ava sat silently at her desk, her books neatly arranged in front of her. The whispers around her grew louder, sharper, and filled with laughter. Every time she adjusted her glasses, another cruel comment would echo through the classroom. "Can she even see straight with those?" One boy snickered. "Looks like she borrowed them from a grandma." Another girl added, her voice dripping with mockery. Ava lowered her gaze, letting her hair fall across her face like a curtain. She wanted to disappear, to vanish into the background. But deep down, something was stirring inside her. That day during lunch, the group of bullies surrounded her table. They snatched her notebook, flipping through the pages filled with neat handwriting and sketches. "What's this? Nerd notes?" One of them mocked, tearing a page halfway before tossing it back. Ava clenched her fists under the table. Her heart was pounding, but she didn't say a word. She had learned to endure, to let the storm pass. Yet, as she glanced at her glasses' reflection in the cafeteria window, she knew the storm inside her wasn't going to stay quiet for long. Later that evening, Ava sat in her room staring at her glasses on the desk. Her parents often told her she had a choice to hide behind them or to use her eyes for what they were truly meant for. They weren't just glasses. They were a barrier between her and a truth no one else knew. Taking a deep breath, she whispered to herself, "Maybe it's time." The next morning, as she walked into school, the bullies were waiting by the lockers. They smirked, ready for another day of fun at her expense. But this time, Ava didn't lower her head. She walked past them calmly, her steps steady, almost unshaken. "Hey, glasses," one of them called out, blocking her path. "Aren't you forgetting your shield?" He reached out, trying to snatch the glasses from her face. Ava caught his wrist mid-air. Her grip was surprisingly firm, stronger than he expected. For a moment, the hallway went silent. The boy tried to laugh it off, but his smirk faltered. Ava slowly removed her glasses. Her eyes locking onto his dot, the entire group froze. What they saw in her eyes wasn't what they expected. It wasn't weakness, nor fear. It was something else, something almost unthinkable. Her eyes seemed to hold a strange glow, a depth that sent shivers through them. It was as if she could see straight through them, their secrets, their insecurities, their fears. The bullies stumbled back, suddenly unsure of themselves. For the first time, it wasn't Ava who was shrinking away. It was them, but Ava didn't say a word. She simply placed her glasses into her pocket, picked up her books, and walked away. Each step echoed louder than their laughter ever had, and deep inside she knew this was just the beginning. The room was silent. The bullies who once laughed at her for being the quiet girl with thick glasses now looked like they wanted to sink into their seats. Lila slowly put her glasses back on. She wasn't ashamed anymore. She wasn't trying to hide. Instead, she stood taller than ever, her voice steady as she spoke. "You all mocked me for what you thought I lacked," she said, her words calm but sharp. "But what you didn't see was that I never needed your approval. I only needed to believe in myself." The judges, moved by her courage and brilliance, announced the results. Leela had won first place. The audience erupted in applause. Some teachers had tears in their eyes, and even Principal Harris leaned forward, clapping harder than anyone else. The bullies sat frozen, their smirks gone. For the first time, they saw Layla not as a target, but as someone far beyond their reach, someone they could never tear down again. After the competition, a few students approached her quietly. "Layla," one girl whispered, "I'm sorry for not standing up for you. You were amazing out there." Lila gave a small smile. "Thank you," she said simply, her heart lighter than it had been in years. That night she went home, placed her trophy on the desk beside her glasses, and looked at her reflection in the mirror. The girl staring back wasn't the weak, invisible figure she once thought she was. She was strong, brave, and unstoppable. Lila finally understood. Her glasses weren't a weakness. They were part of her story, part of her strength. And as for the bullies, they learned a lesson the hard way, because from that day forward, no one dared mock her again. Moral of the story: never underestimate someone because of how they look or how quiet they seem. True strength doesn't shout, it shines at the right moment. And sometimes the very thing people mock you for becomes the reason you rise above them.